Yo, people, what are we saying? You guys have been hammering and hammering for this collab for the longest. Ever since really that the video started to do decent on Twitter, you're like, when are you and George gonna are you guys speaking? Are you on good terms? When is he gonna come on the channel? Well, here's his face, here's the blue hair. Yes, guys, welcome, George. How are you doing, my man?
Yes, guys, for real. I'm doing good, my man. Thank you very much for inviting me on. Looking forward to having a little chat. I think I probably know what we're going to talk about, but I'll let you head the table.
100%. Now, listen, man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. The game yesterday was a 0-0, but there was just so much to speak about. For me, I want to get into Tottenham. I want to get into some individual performances, a little bit of criticism and craziness I'm seeing on Twitter for certain players. And then obviously the games are coming thick and fast. So literally Sevilla is just around the corner. First of all, man, I want to get your take on this situation because for me, it's not the first time. I feel like there's certain players in this squad that are maybe the hitting stick for the fans when things don't go right. Tammy Abraham, man, he didn't have the best of games yesterday. I said it in my own personal review. I'm sure you did as well in your 6 things we learned. For me, for me personally, I didn't actually learn too much more on Tammy because I kind of knew his heading ability in the box wasn't the strongest. I knew that, that was an area of his game he needed to improve, anticipating Reece James's crosses, but he's come under severe criticism. What's your thoughts on Tammy right now?
I actually think that he was one of our better players in the first half. I think it was one of the, as a Chelsea fan, seeing us play so well, seeing us be so fluid recently, even though I knew it was going to be a cagey game. Like, we all knew it was going to be very much like who's going to, like, when you're playing chess and you look into the eyes of the other person, you're like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Or a bit of poker.
See,
it was a game of poker. It was literally like that. And I thought, one of the only times that we actually looked to run at a man was when Tammy Abraham did it and he forced, I think it was a corner. So I thought he was doing okay there. And then the start of the second half, when Reece is putting in those crosses, at first, I didn't think too much about it. Like, when I was watching it live, I'm like, oh, okay, the ball's coming pretty quick. He's under pressure from the defender. Like, if you actually look at the positioning of the defenders, it's not like it would have been a free header. It was a battle. Eric Dyer's a big guy and he's a strong dude as well. So at the time I was thinking like, oh, it's okay. Like, Reece is putting in these balls. It's looking good. Ziyech was like trying to find his marker in the first half. He'll probably will in the second half. But then the one from Werner, I think for me was just a little bit crazy. And I think that's the one probably above the two from Reece James that people were a bit like, come on, Tammy, this is the third time it's been put on a nice little silver plate for you with a silver spoon. And you've kind of fluffed it in every sense of the word. So, I think the problem I find is that whenever we criticize a player, people tend to do it in a way where we think about what could have been there instead, but it's not there. So it's like Tammy's done very well this season and he warranted his place in that team.
100%.
And if we look at, in my opinion anyway, who am I to say? But I thought he was decent in the first half. I thought his movement was good. I thought he was looking to do the positive things. So, using like, oh, it should have been Giroud on the pitch from the start to channel this like negativity, hatred, whatever you want to call it towards Tammy, I think is a little bit overkill. But, it's a game of football and you've got to take your chances. And if you're Chelsea's number 9, we expect them to do better, right? Like, I think he definitely could have done and should have done better.
Yeah, and I think what amplifies it is the fact that it was Tottenham. It's a game that the emotions are just amped up by like 10, 15% from usual. So when a striker's missing those kind of chances, it's just going to bring out more emotions than usual. And I think when it comes to Reece James's crosses on that point, I think his crosses are whipped in with so much pace and so much venom that you really just have to get a touch. And for me, he's always millimeters away. But as you said, I think that Werner one was the disappointment. I think Tammy's got a really slender, tall body. So it must be difficult for him to really get control of it and really, and use it to the best of his ability. Everyone says he's very tall, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be very good at headers. And I'm hoping for like a Calvert-Lewin type surge in the coming months where he just learns the ability. But I was thinking to myself the other day, we've got so many legends around the place, whether it be Ashley Cole, Frank Lampard, Didier Drogba, man. Get him in the building. Do you know what I mean?
It's the dream, really, isn't it? You got Czech in there too. Like, it's if we could steal Terry from Villa, it would be the absolute dream, But I think Tammy, for me, I actually think Tammy has learned a lot from Giroud, be it in training or just be it from Giroud's form towards the end of last season when I wouldn't go as far as to say he carried us, but he scored a lot of big goals and he played a lot more. And we saw why in the France national team, he is the man. You know, he's second only behind Thierry Henry, which is hardly a bad person to be stuck behind. And he's probably going to break that record. Yeah, exactly. 100%. And I think this season with Tammy, we've understood. He understood at least that with Werner coming in, there's very clearly a very top level striker who's knocking on the door for what looks to be his spot. You know, and Tammy was in the team at the weekend based off of the merit that he's earned as a result of his performances recently. And I think if it was the Tammy of last season, he was our top scorer. But I think his game has improved massively since even last
especially
season.
His build-up play.
Pretty good.
Yeah, especially his link-up play. I thought that side of his game certainly has gone up a notch. Before he was falling over a little bit more often. Again, the physicality of the centre-backs, that's not something to underestimate. It's not easy in this league. It is physical. I think even Werner spoke about it as well in his quotes to say that, you know, the Premier League is a lot more physical than the Bundesliga. So he is still growing. He's obviously 24 years old. He's coming into his own. He's not in his prime yet. I've got a lot of patience for him. For me, when it comes to Tammy, people will maybe take their criticism too far and say, right now, he hasn't got a place in the squad. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just one extreme to the next. you can't really go from somebody. Yeah, go for it. This is your question.
Somebody in the comments just said something about when Werner misses, we kind of give him that slack, but when it's Tammy, everyone says, "Oh, he's not got to make the cut for Chelsea." I think I just saw it somewhere in the comments there. I just quoted that completely wrong, but it's true. You know, like I feel as though because we all got so excited about Werner. And a lot of I think the Chelsea fan base in general, we very much are like an energy-driven fan base where we all cling on to like these big, like bundles of excitement and like the way we think things are going to go. And then when it doesn't quite hit it, we're like, we throw the toys out the pram. We're quite bad as like on a whole, I think. A lot of people within the Chelsea fan base. But I think Tammy's the easy one to scapegoat because we know how good Werner is. It's not like he's just had one good season in Germany. He's had plenty of good seasons for the last couple of years, and he's very good for Germany as well. And we spent a flipping bucket ton of money on him. So whenever Tammy does have a bad game and Christian Pulisic's on the bench, unfortunately, I don't see this changing in terms of this reaction anytime soon, which could be. But at the same time, I think Tammy's mentality, especially when he's on the field, I love how angry he gets at the smallest things. For me, I think it's a hallmark of what, if he can channel that energy properly, he could become a really nasty striker. I think he's got a streak like that. I mean, that would be the kind of dream mold, you know? Yeah. But I think sometimes he lets it get the better of him. He's just got to learn how to manage that. And I think a lot of the whole like falling over thing is sometimes he's trying so hard to just get something on it that he's not actually thinking about the body part.
Control of his body.
That's it. Yeah.
And also, I think one thing I've learned from this game is, for me, I don't feel like we have the perfect number 9 yet, because Abraham's obviously still developing. His heading ability has got to come into its own. I think Werner, people are now calling for Werner to play lone forward. I'm still not 100% confident with that. I still think he's a hybrid between a striker and a winger, more of a second striker. And then Giroud obviously doesn't have the pace to press and do all the things Lampard wants from the get-go. So one thing I'm starting to see is that there's actually no perfect solution up front, but we do have goals in the team, so it shouldn't be an area of concern. We need to start scoring against the big teams, I guess. Before we go into our next segment, tell the people, because obviously my channel, your hair's blue, bro. This weekend got the better of you. What's going on?
Oh man, you know what? This is actually one of the only weekends in a while that I haven't actually allowed anything to get the better of me. I decided to stay home, but I think a lot of that was down to getting this done and being like ever so slightly socially awkward about the fact that I've just gone from, you know, I had silver hair before and I thought it looked all right, and then I got this done and I'm like, just thinking like, we're good fun for the channel. It'll be like, it's lots of football this December.
You've got
So
the
there'll be
blue
lots of
lights as
videos.
well. From a branding perspective, this is brilliant. I can see
It's
how
not
marketable
bad.
you are right now. I just want to put you on a billboard and be like, follow the Chelsea, up the Chelsea.
Up the
Literally.
Chelsea. I mean, yeah, I think at some point in my life, I'm going to have to draw a line in terms of the things I would or should do for the love of the club and the job. But I just thought, screw it. I woke up Friday morning and thought, you know what? It's time. You know, Spurs, big one at the weekend. I'm just glad we didn't lose, you know, because if I'd have done that, I'd have had a load of Spurs fans in the comments of my review video being like, look at this mug who thought he'd do something good and he thought it was all going to end in rosy positivity, and then he got done. But no, you know, it's 0-0. It's okay.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, personally, I'm jealous because I'm in London. I can't even get a shape up at the moment. We're struggling over here. We can't even get a simple haircut, let alone dye our hair. So,
what are you going to do then? You going to let it grow?
I'm just waiting for Boris to be like, yeah, lockdown's over again, and I'm just gonna go and get a haircut because it's only a matter of time before my comments start really getting onto me. Do you know what I mean?
I won't give my comments on Boris. You know, I don't want to get into any politics on here. You never know who's going to clip something up and call me out for being this or that. You know.
Exactly. No, exactly. I try to stay away from politics unless it's Trump. Then a unanimous decision on that one. Moving on to Frank's management of the team. What did you make of it? Because I think I was speaking to Yannick about this as well. He was speaking about the substitutions were very positive, but for me, the timing of them was a bit slow. I was hoping maybe for a little bit more progressive, a little bit more early, but obviously we speak about it. We understand the magnitude of losing to Tottenham at home as well. That's something that was probably playing on his mind. I personally just wanted the Giroud substitution to be made earlier. What's your take on it?
I mean, I could easily conflict my opinion of what I've just said about Tammy's first half performance with this, but I think in terms of when I think the Giroud substitution should have happened, I think maybe only 10 minutes earlier for me. Because I don't think... And the tough one as well, I think, for Lampard right now is even though Pulisic would have been the obvious one to come on and be a game changer, it would have probably required either still taking Tammy off maybe a bit too early for what he would have liked to do, or taking off Werner, who you know in the blink of an eye can change a game with a wonderful goal, just like his offside goal was, which was marginal in itself. So I think the dilemma that Frank has is that making a change super early can also massively backfire on the team, because then if the game doesn't really change the ebb and flow and then Spurs score a goal, then he's one substitution less than he would have had with 20 minutes to go. But because the game was so evenly poised, and to be honest, like we looked like we were going to score for the first 20 minutes of the second half. Like if you think about the way we were playing and controlling the game, I don't necessarily think a substitution was necessary. And I think now it's heightened because Tammy missed those chances. So then, of course, we're like, oh, yeah, well, Giroud would have scored them. So what on earth's Frank doing not bringing them on earlier? But I think these are all things that I actually think, 10 minutes earlier maybe would have been nice to see Giroud come on.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go as far as to agree with some of the people who I said at halftime Tammy should have been bought off. He was shocking, because I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to be too hard on Lampard on this one, because we did create chances, and I can see why he was so... you're literally meters away from Jose Mourinho, a tactical genius of the managerial era right now. You know what I mean? In recent times, he's a legend of the game. He is super qualified for his job. You're going up against him. You've done the double over him last season, but you know the game's going to be tight. Anything can happen in the blink of an eye. He can make changes as well. And I think this no 5 subs rule as well is hampering the big teams, because they want to maybe make more changes, but say if Chilwell, he picked up a knock now. Say we had no substitutions left and he had to come off, then we're down to 10 men. So you always have to save one, and that kind of prolongs the other ones as well in getting made. I think also as well, I did want Giroud to come on. I think Pulisic is another issue, because he's just coming back from injury. So many times fans, including myself, have criticised Lampard for bringing back players early, whether it be Pulisic, Kante last season. And I think if Pulisic was to come on earlier and maybe at half time and then he was to get injured, God knows the uproar that would have been caused. You know what I mean? It would have been a madness. Exactly.
Like, I think that's the reason why, like, for example, when I did my review of the game, I actually thought it was actually a lot more positive. I didn't try to focus too much on the frustrations that we should have won the game, because I think when a game is that tight and it is that, I think it's actually a credit to Lampard that we were the better team throughout the whole game, really, because Mourinho's been doing this at the top level for 15, 20, nearly 20 years. So he knows exactly. We've seen it. We've won Premier League titles with this man doing exactly what we did yesterday in the big games. Sometimes that's exactly what we did to win some of these big games. So I think Lampard deserves a lot more credit for the fact that not only did we did more than hold our own. I think we were 100% above and beyond them yesterday. And if it was one more cross, we probably would have scored.
100%, I agree. And the last point on our forwards, I think it's also important to say that nobody played well up front. So to pick out Tammy, and I know he missed the clear-cut chances, but I thought Ziyech was quite quiet. I thought Giroud, when he came on, he did miss a huge opportunity at the end to lob the goalkeeper, and he didn't really get any conviction or purpose on the shot. Especially with his side foot, I was expecting him to really, so last chance of the game, really go for it, and it was kind of a tame effort. So I think everyone was kind of underperforming. But onto the good points, because it wasn't all downhill. One side of the pitch that wasn't underperforming is the defense. I think Son and Kane got one shot on target between them. Mendy, Reece James, Silva, Zuma's been mentioned here, Chilwell, Kante. That part of the pitch was excellent. What was your take on that? Because what a performance.
Apart from that one moment of almost madness between Kante and Mendy, I thought we were absolutely flawless at the back and in the middle. And for me, it's such fine margins right now with this Chelsea team. And I think the fact that we're talking about just one piece of movement or one pass that should have been a little bit earlier or later, whatever it is, just shows how close we are to I wouldn't necessarily say a finished article, but a team that is look at what we've done with 2 points adrift. We've won however many games in a row that we've won. Should have won yesterday. Yeah, I think the solidity in the team right now is immense, and that is without Kai Havertz in the side. That's with last season's player of the season, who kind of got forgotten a little bit at the beginning of the year because everyone's ranting and raving about Havertz. Mount has been very good in my opinion, and Kovacic is kind of out the window, and then all of a sudden he comes back in, and we see exactly why he was the best player under Lampard last season. So I think the great news for Chelsea at the moment, if you look at all of the rivals and compare teams, is Liverpool obviously got done over at Brighton, which I think has been a little bit of long time coming. Credit to them, because they have been good considering how many injuries they have. But that kind of showed in that game. And then Spurs, when I look at the depth in their squad, it's not as good as ours. They got some very good players on the bench, but we got more. We got more. We got more. We just do. Yeah. So. Yeah, midfield was excellent yesterday. I thought Kante looks good. I think, to be honest, I actually thought the best player on the pitch until he came off was Ndombele. I'm so glad he came off. I thought he looked. I was very surprised. I thought it would have been Sissoko who left, but yeah, I think we more than matched up yesterday, defensively and in midfield. We were brilliant.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this defense with Kante anchoring it has now given a lot of solidity, made the team a lot more solid and given it a good foundation. Because I'm comparing it with our last game against Man United, the last big game we had, where we drew 0-0, and we was obviously literally scared shitless of conceding goals, back-to-back 0-0s against Sevilla because Lampard really went defensive. This big game now, we're coming up against the league leaders. We've kept our formation, which was pivotal for me. The fact that we didn't change to a 3-4-3, we're suddenly making teams adapt to us. We're trying to be on the front foot. Yeah, we didn't get the goals. It was still a 0-0, but this is a different 0-0 for me to the 0-0 that was against Manchester United. So there's been progress made, and we have to be very honest about it. We're coming up against one of the best managers in the league, one of the best teams in the league as well, with Kane and Son up front. I wanted to win as much as anyone. I was gassing you up all week. George is gassing you up. Do you know what I mean? But a point is not a bad result. I think that's the key to take away here. And I think, someone mentioned it earlier. I think Thiago Silva has not only improved Zuma, but potentially even Kante. The way that they can all speak French among each other. Mendy has been exceptional as well. It's nice to see the club buying players, but a clear plan and a clear, there's a link to each signing, and each signing complements the other. Mendy, I think he's now got the most clean sheets. What do you make of him? Because he's a star, man.
Man, I love him. He's I don't know about you, but he feels like one of those guys that's just a little bit intriguing. Not just when he plays football, but I want to see what he's like. What does he have for breakfast? What does he? Is he a coffee guy or is he a tea guy? I want to know all these things about Mendy, because I don't know why. Sometimes footballers, you just want to see them play football. But with Mendy, he seems different, you know?
He is different because you know that picture where he's hugging Mount. He's very smiley, but he's very quiet. He reminds me of Kante, but just taller. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's very he's not. I don't know whether he's within himself because he does communicate along the back line definitely, but he's just such a calming, chilled presence on the pitch. Like,
bro,
it's mad.
And the gloves, man, like it's like he's got fruit salads on his hands. You know the sweets.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah, my favorite. So that's a big win for me.
It's a big plus when you're wearing George Benson's sweets on your hands. You've already got man the match. he made the thing is with Mendy is that he reminds me of Kante so much, but he's just like this freakishly tall version. I compare him to Elastigirl from The Incredibles. His arms are just long. It sounds simplistic, but as a goalkeeper, just to have the advantage of longer arms, longer legs, just taller, massive stature. We see it with the saves. He's just getting to things that last season we wasn't getting to, and it's mad how much of improvement he's made. And for someone that no one knew about as well, I mean, credit to Petr Cech and the team. They've scouted him brilliantly. I think he cost like 20 million or something. People thought he was going to be a stopgap. I think he's here to stay as first choice for seasons to come.
I mean, I think anyone who would say any different after what we've seen so far would be just trying to like play devil's advocate for the sake of it. I think the man's brilliant. Like I bring it back to like underrated. I made a video a couple of weeks ago, like underrated moments of the season. You know, when you're kind of like clutching at straws for content for a day, and you're like, you know what, I want to put something out. But that save to deny Rashford is absolutely next level. And if that goes in, then we're all sitting here and Lampard's sitting there thinking, you know what, like we were never going to win this game. We've lost it again. We've conceded another goal. But that clean sheet for me was the catalyst for all of the other confident defensive displays that followed as a result.
100%.
So far this season, I would have said until yesterday that Chilwell has been like the one that I think has been the best of all the new signings so far. But the more he keeps keeping clean sheets, it has to be Mendy.
Yeah, I give it to Mendy as well for the sheer fact that I had no idea who he was. Literally no idea. He didn't cost much as well. Like for me, Chilwell was performing to what his price tag warrants, even though, again, Chilwell was performing above expectations for me as well. But I think Mendy's just an extra. There's something extra there because I just didn't know who he was. The expectations were on the floor. Guys, I want you to spam the chat with nicknames for Mendy. I've got Spider Mendy. I've got obviously Elastigirl Mendy. I've got BFG. I've got so many nicknames. Just keep spamming them because I don't have one to stick with. When I fortunately got the opportunity to go on Chelsea's channel, I called him Majestical Mendy. Literally, we just need nicknames for Mendy. We need to spam that, and maybe I'll change the part of the video, the thumbnail. I might just change it to Mendy and just stick his head on it or something.
Someone's put in Ed Wall MD. No, MD. I can't even speak properly. Ed Wall Mendy.
That is solid. That is solid. Good. Glover Gum. People are having shouts for Golden Glove. I would love that personally. I'd love that. The story is so good. Obviously, unemployed, come from the same club as Petr Cech. Now Petr Cech's training him. It's Senegal's Petr Cech.
There you go. Polish builder. Nice one. Cheers, pal.
Where's that? Where is that? I hope
you already put it up. I can see it.
Oh, okay. Well, Jesus. Let me see.
Captain Elastico. The
so
towel.
But yeah, so many nicknames. I want to get onto another big talking point because Hudson-Odoi, he was left out the whole squad, George. What did you make of that? Because for me personally, obviously he scores in midweek, so he's obviously going to be disappointed personally. That's a massive disappointment for him, not even to make the squad after playing so well in midweek. But when you look at the bench as well, was there anyone that could have come in for him? Again, I spoke about Pulisic really at halftime saying it was too early to bring him on for fitness reasons. Maybe Hudson-Odoi just should have been on the bench for Pulisic. What do you think of that?
You know, like when I did my preview, I don't know how, but I got the 11 right and the subs in the order that they were put in, and I did not think Hudson-Odoi was going to make it. Not because I didn't want him to myself, but because I didn't think Lampard was going to pick him. Because I think if Pulisic was fit, we all know how good he is. We know how good he's been. Frank's going to want to introduce him back into this team as quickly as he possibly can. Yeah. But the thing with Callum, he was very good in Rennes. It was a great goal that he scored. I loved the defensive work that he did. It was one of his best performances. But sadly, you know, like the quality that we have in this team means that when he does have a good game, he's got to have a great game. And you can't just have one and then two shoddy performances in a row again and then still think he's going to get that chance. You know, he's got to be lighting the pitch up from minute 1 to minute 90 or however long he's on the pitch for.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's going to be a lot of times this season where I think we all sit there and think, how did he not make the squad today? Or why isn't he making the squad? And there can be an argument that's put forward for a lot of players, I think. Yeah. So, you know, I'd love to see Callum stay at Chelsea and succeed at Chelsea, but we know the ability he has. No one's doubting like how good he can be and how good we've seen him at times, but it's just the frequency of how often that happens that I think is the biggest worry for me. And I think Frank is what, from what I understand, he seems like a man who trusts his team a lot right now. Yeah. And we know that there's been issues with Callum, with potentially attitude, with training, with conversations that I'm sure have gone on behind the scenes that we all don't know about regards game time and the Bayern Munich saga and all of this stuff. So I think it might take Callum a bit more time than, say, some of the other players within the squad to really earn the trust and to make Frank believe that he's the man to be called upon, whether it's in the 11 or on the bench.
Yeah, from all the updates that I get, like personally, his attitude is now on point. He's training hard, and I think the clear difference between his game time and Tomori's game time tells you all you need to know about who right now is starting to gain the trust back and who's not. I think something is definitely going on behind the scenes with Tomori for him to be not only low on the pecking order, but not to get any game time. And out of all of the academy stars to come through, he's the one that I worry about most for the future going forward. I think potentially an exit in January on loan, maybe even a sell with a buyback. I'm cautious about how we go forward with him. What if you could pick a position, George, where you want us to strengthen in January? Because obviously this team is great depth wise, but maybe some areas we don't have the quality and depth that we hope for. Maybe at centre back, left back. What if you could pick a player to go out there and get to really secure this team for a title charge? Who would you bring in?
I mean, I saw the other day that we've been linked again with Alaba, and I think that for me that is the most perfect signing of any. Maybe not. Okay, there's other players I'd probably rather have if I could pick anybody, but like in terms of a realistic potential signing, I think Alaba is perfect for Chelsea. It's back up at left back when we clearly know that there's Chilwell and then Emerson and Alonso who don't really tickle Lampard's fancy whatsoever. And then you've also got the centre-back thing where I thought it was going to be Zuma and Silva. And then from the freezing out of Rudiger and the performances of Christensen, I was like, well, these two haven't really got, like, these aren't title-winning centre-backs. And then I thought Tomori would have been that guy who would have been the third behind both Zuma and Silva. And I mean, in terms of like his ability, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I genuinely feel as though it's just an attitude problem or maybe a tactical thing where Lampard just doesn't see him getting it. So for that reason, I have kind of given up on Christensen now as a Chelsea centre-back, to be honest. I've always liked him, but I just don't think he's at that level that we need to be at now. You know, now we're challenging for titles or wanting to challenge for titles again. Consistently. Rudiger, I mean, ironically, whenever he's played, he's not really done anything wrong. But it's only been a couple of times in the Champions League, and I think was it one Premier League game or whatever. And he was actually good.
Newcastle, wasn't it?
Newcastle away. But I think Alaba would be. I mean, it would be difficult because then you can't take Zuma out right now.
This is what
not going to leave Bayern to come and be on the bench to be third choice, is he? And I think he does want the Spain move.
The thing is with the Spain move for him that I think is putting us into players that can the Spanish teams afford him, you know, at the moment, especially in this time. I think I'm not too worried about his game time, so to speak, for Alaba, because I think we've got a squad where the competition for places are high. We've spoken about it with Cal. They've given him a 5-year contract and he can't even get on the bench for this game. I just think as long as Lampard can manage, and I think all those positions that he's fighting for, those players need managing more than most. So Thiago Silva, we know he definitely needs managing from time to time. Chilwell he's a very high intensity player. He makes a lot of sprints. I think, you know, he pulled up there at the end of that game yesterday. I think he could do with a rest more often, but obviously Frank doesn't trust the other left back options as much. And then Kante, we definitely know Kante could do with a rest at times. And I think even Alaba, I think he could even play in Mason Mount's place where Mason needs a rest, because for Austria, he plays quite high up in midfield, almost as an attacking midfielder. I know Mason Mount's position is a little bit more restricted as an 8. He doesn't have to maybe go as far forward as a Kai if he's on the other side. I think Alaba would be perfect for that role because he's very good on the ball. He can pop off his shots, good at taking set pieces, but he also understands the defensive side of the game. So he's probably maybe the perfect guy to take that role more than a Kovacic, who's better at dribbling and making those third man runs that he's been making recently. So I think even for the rest of the season, if you could have a situation where you have Billy Gilmore backing up Kante, probably try and offload Jorginho again, which they have tried in the past, and everybody here knows how much I love Jorginho, but for me, it doesn't suit this formation and this team. And then you've got Kova and Kai on the right, and then Mount and Alaba potentially working on the left, as well as the other positions he can cover. There's more than enough game time for me, more than enough.
Yeah, especially when let's hope we're competing on all fronts and we don't go and get a crappy draw in the last 16 of the Champions League, which would be bloody typical. We go to Seville tomorrow night and get a win, and then we get Real Madrid or somebody in the last 16. I think, if we can, as long as fans can go back to stadiums again, then it'll be fine. But
I'm missing it. Are you? Because obviously you went to a fair few games. I did as well. I think last season I went to quite a few at the beginning. Yeah. How are you adjusting to obviously just watching it on TV? Because I'm missing the even the simple charts of just Chelsea, the liquidator. That is something that is I need that back. I remember actually a pre-game meetup. I don't know if I saw you, but I definitely seen all the YouTube boys just, and it wasn't even planned. It was just like everyone just arrived for a second in the same spot. I think on Fulham Road, and I was like, this is the life, man.
Bro, like I've not been in the UK at all since January. So for me, it's like I have to watch the games at like 2 a.m, 4 a.m, always at the daft o'clock. So that's frustrating as one. But like there is nothing quite like being at the game. You know, like I always said when I made my Chelsea channel that I always wanted it to be about my love for the club. I don't want to become like, if we were doing bad, I don't want to be here like just bashing on the players. I didn't want it. I never wanted to get to a point where Chelsea's downfall was at my pockets. Like,
exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So the whole atmosphere of what's been going on for the last like 18 months or so with Lampard and that whole story and the way things are looking now, like, of course you want to be at the Bridge every other Saturday. You know, like it's a good place to be. People feel good about things now. You know, it's not like we've got a manager who we know is in with a big ass paycheck, but does he really care about the club? Like, there's none of those things anymore that created animosity around, you know, in the pubs or in the stands or whatever. And I think the crop of players that we've got now, because they are young and because so many of them, like even the new signings that are young who have come in, who didn't come up through the academy, have not all been friends since they were kids. You can see it's kind of like when you go on that school trip abroad and then there's another school and they're on the same trip and they're all the same age as you. And then like you see each other crossing over in the kitchen in the morning when you're getting your breakfast at the buffet. And you're like, you know what? We'd probably be pals. And that's exactly how it seems now. You know?
That's a great analogy, you know, that the flashback there was brilliant.
I mean, I remember days like that when I was on school trips, but like it feels like that now, you know, like the way that all of these guys seem to be, obviously they can't really be hanging out at the moment off the pitch because, well, no one's allowed to do anything, are they? But
there is a togetherness, and a camaraderie, and I think there's definitely a culture that Lampard's trying to build. And I think for me, it typifies with the left back options when we was deciding, like the fan base were to and fro between like Chilwell, and I wanted like Reguilon, who's at Tottenham now, and Tagliafico was a name that went around, Telles, but I think the reason, not only obviously the Premier League experience and the known quality that Ashley Cole saw and Lampard saw in Chilwell, but also the culture that he's trying to bring in. You know, they know Chilwell's a hard worker. They know he stands for certain values that maybe they don't know the other players as well. He fits in with the dressing room. And I think these things are maybe underappreciated. The fact that a player can fit in the dressing room, you know, and a player does have already friends there. I mean, I put the analogy, you go into work, right? If you go into your new job and you already have friends there, that just helps you settle in faster. It just helps you get to the peak of your game faster. That's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, no, I think with Chilwell, I was similar to you. Like I thought when I looked at the price tag, and obviously with all these rumours that we had last summer, they all kind of came in at once. And at one point, obviously, we'd only really got Ziyech. So before we signed Werner, we hear these names being thrown around, and Chilwell's one of them. And you look at that price tag and you think, well, if it's 50 million or 60 odd million or whatever it was, then that's probably going to hinder us going for one of these other big names that sound like a dream right now. So I was pushing for another one of those players, not because I didn't think Chilwell was a good enough footballer, but because I'm thinking, well, if this signing of Chilwell is going to be at the detriment to the Havertz deal going through because we don't want to budge by an extra 10 million, then I'll take the Tagliafico, who's almost a third of the price, so that we can get him as well. Like, we've been so blessed, man. Like, we got the best players for the best. Well, I mean, the price is still at the moment looking all right. You know, it's looking okay. Like you said earlier, he's playing well enough for me to say, like, okay, he's justifying his price tag. You know, he's making a difference. We can see how confident he is and how confident the players are around him to play alongside him, you know. 100%. So, yeah, I couldn't be any happier with any of the signings. I think they've been brilliant so far.
Yeah, and I think this is a team that people can get really attached to. There's a lot of arrogance and flamboyance in this team, probably mainly because of the way Ziyech has come in. He's been so confident. He's also brought confidence to other players as well. I've seen Reece James try a few more tricks more often. And I think back to the point on fans in stadiums, I think obviously what's safe and what's not is down to the government at this point. But this is the exact team that you want to be at the ground for. There's so many goals that have gone in, especially Reece James' screamer. If that had fans, can you imagine the takeoff, man?
Man, it was like Tomori's goal at Wolves last season. That was one of the best away days last year, actually, in terms of being like underrated, because Wolverhampton, there's not really a lot there. But I got there super early. The sun was out. It was boiling hot the whole day, and then like throughout the whhole game, like it looked as though the sun was going to like dip behind the stand opposite at the Molineux, but it didn't. It kind of like curved around, and like we're just there like in the sun the whole flipping day, and then Tomori belts that one in, and
but that was a few rows that were skipped. That was a goal fest. That one. That was at the start of our season under Lamp's reigns, where we were just banging in goals, and there was goals going in the other end. We was like Liverpool at the start of their reign on the clock. It was just goals flying in either side as well. I think, I really do wish we could just get back to these days. I think even you would probably cover it on your channel potentially. You were doing travel vlogs before, weren't you? Was that something that you was hopefully going to try and do with Chelsea?
Yeah, like we did all the European ones last year, and then whenever I'd never do a match vlog if I went on my own, because I can't concentrate on it. You know, I used to do it like years ago, but for me, like I just get so involved in the day that unless like the guy who's coming with me, who's got my second ticket, is willing to like hold my phone, I don't do it. Like there were times last season where I was like, I'm not doing a flipping vlog. Like I don't want to think about like I can't concentrate. But I think if when everyone's allowed back in, I'll consider it. I've kind of started a new life for myself out here now, so it'd be
It looks amazing, by the way. Everybody in the UK is so jealous. Anyone that knows, I think I've seen a few in comment section, like even Poet, and he's just like, "Damn, man, I should have done what George done."
Yeah, bro. There's a few guys I know who are tempted to come out here, and they're like, "Is it like? Can you really?" Like, I'm like, "Bro, you can do anything you want. Like, there's not a problem. Like, COVID does exist here, but it's not like it's not
pressing concern like it is over here."
No, like this, and the numbers are so low that it's kind of like, well, life, I guess, has to go on normally somewhere. I've been lucky.
Because I remember your I'll get on to Sevilla soon as well, but I remember your Baku vlog as well. I'm sure a lot of the viewers will as well, when you went out to Baku and covered the Europa League final. Obviously, we smacked up Arsenal, which transcends into a beautiful topic of the weekend, that Arsenal again lost. They're in free fall. As a Chelsea fan, it is nice to, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying that they almost feel like bullies talking about Arsenal at this point, because they've become such a shell of themselves that there's nothing to really banter anymore.
To be honest, like I don't want to be that guy. I'm just going to sound like a sarcastic. I don't know if you swear on your channel.
Oh, you swear? You go for it.
I don't want to be that sarcastic wanker, but it's like they've not been. Okay, granted, they beat us in the cup final last year. Well done, congratulations. Enjoy it while you can. Exactly. They're not contenders in the Premier League at all anymore.
Yeah,
they. I mean, look at them yesterday. Wolves are a good team, but
there's nothing really there. There's no substance. There's no, and even I think a lot of Chelsea fans warned them about Willian going over and how, you know, potentially that was going to ruin the likes of Pepe. And Pepe got himself suspended with a headbutt last weekend, like Zidane. So I can't really, you know, I can't really make excuses for him. But Willian he is inevitable. He is going to start games for them. I don't think they processed that when they signed him. I think they thought maybe he was just going to be a rotational player. He was always going to be a massive figure in their team.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I always liked Willian. And I think most of that was as a match-going fan that I love the song. So even when he was doing bad, like even he'd have the worst games and it would still be one of the songs that we sing. So I think the fact that he has gone there and obviously like it's all going a little bit tits up has been perfect, because then we can still like look back at those goals, some of the goals, the free kicks and whatnot, the memories, and still be kind of happy. Unlike some other players that have moved on to other clubs. But yeah, Arsenal, of course, we got them on what day after Boxing Day?
Boxing Day, yeah, Boxing Day, bro.
They'll probably turn up for that one, and it will be like highlight reel of the season. They might get a 3-3 this time. You never know. Actually, no, we don't concede goals anymore. They could be happy with a 0-0. They'd celebrate that.
Man, I need that. The fact that they put that game there, and I want to get onto this point quickly as well before Sevilla. The fixture list over Christmas is that there's a game, right? There's a day's rest between Arsenal and Aston Villa. Is that not inhumane, or have you seen
Villa on the 29th? Yeah, we do. I think.
So we've got 27th. No, is it 26th Arsenal? Isn't it the day after Christmas? So Boxing Day, and then the 28th is Aston Villa. We've definitely got 1 day's rest in between two fixtures, 100%. Because I was speaking to Alex about it from the Byline.
Yeah. Actually, you know why I thought it was the 27th? It's because when I check my phone for the fixtures, the time is the day after. So it is the 26th. Boxing Day,
26th UK. Yeah.
Ooh, blimey!
You'd have to go with 2 different 11s, isn't it? Really, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I think the good thing with all of these things is whenever you're a football fan, you always take it personally for your team. But the good news is Aston Villa, when they play us, are going to have played a game 2 days before as well.
Yeah.
And when you look at the strength and depth, we should be okay.
Yeah,
you know? Villa are a good side.
Yeah, they are. They're doing very well this season. Obviously, Ross Barkley's on loan there, Gallagher, and I'm going to play a little game with you afterwards about loanees and players to make it at the club. But before we get onto that, Sevilla. I don't want to spoil anyone's preview. I haven't done mine yet either, but just a little hush for the chat. What would be your starting lineup for the game? Obviously, the situation is quite interesting because Sevilla and us, I think, are level or at the top of the table, level on points, I believe. Obviously, we're shooting for top of the group, but maybe certain players need a rest as well. We've got Leeds, who are a very high energy team at the weekend. We know we're going to need maybe our strongest team, and not only that, our team fully ready for that. If there's any team you don't want to go into tired, it's Leeds. So who would you play? I'm going to give my starting line up after you as well.
First things first, I think this is probably the worst time for Chelsea to. I mean, it would have been so nice if Sevilla was the last game, because like you said, Leeds are the team that you do not want to be knackered against. They're going to have a full week's rest. We're not. Yeah. And for me, this game is actually, I'd say, bigger than the Leeds game. Look at what happened last season. We come second, we get Bayern Munich. We got destroyed. We got to win this group. And I think even a draw in Seville would probably be enough, because our goal difference is superior and we've got Krasnodar at home as the last game. So it should be okay. But, you want to go there and win. Yeah. Oh, man.
It's tough, man.
It's hard.
Get your lineups in the chat as well. Yeah.
I would stick with exactly the same team, but I would stick Werner up front, Pulisic on the left wing, and I'd bring Havertz back in probably for Kovacic. But then Mount also looked a bit tired.
It's rough. I can name so many players who I feel like need a rest, even Chilwell potentially as well. But I don't think I'd risk it. Get your starting lineups in the chat. I do want to see what everyone else has got to say about this. I think for me personally, and I'll get your take, I would go Mendy. I would stick with Chilwell because we need to defend well out there. And I think one thing I'm learning with Frank is he doesn't want to put Azpilicueta at left back anymore, because it kills the balance of the overlap with the left footer and creating space out wide and keeping the width. So it has to be Emerson or Alonso. Alonso had that bus incident where he just tried to drive off and leave everybody, and then Emerson is obviously second choice, but we know Frank doesn't really fancy him, so Chilwell has to start there. I would keep Zuma and Silva again for the defense, and then I'd bring in Aspie as this guy says here, because I think we can make that change and it won't affect the team too much. Then I'd go. This is tough. Kante. I probably would stick with. I don't know. It's difficult.
I'd actually drop Ziyech.
Yeah?
Like, I think the game was very physical for him yesterday. I think it was, I put Callum Hudson-Odoi back in.
Yeah, same. I definitely would do that. Then the argument, so would you go Pulisic out wide with Hudson-Odoi and then? Yeah, and then Giroud up front?
Oh, I'd start with Timo.
You'd go Werner. I would, okay. That's a difficult one. I would definitely rest Werner, I think.
You'd rest him. I don't know if it's because he needs the rest.
Yeah, I think
you think he's knackered.
I
think he's not sharp. I just don't think he's as sharp as he could be. But then, what does a striker need to get that little bit of extra confidence? They need to play and score a goal.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And you know what better way to do it than to score the goal that wins it to win you the group?
Yeah, I think.
And then we go to Leeds, and it's like, all right, we'll bring it on. You know,
because he's probably the thing. What I'm looking at Werner is that there was I think it was Burnley away where they tried to rest him, but Pulisic had to come off injured. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I believe there was a game where they tried to rest him, and then Pulisic went injured, and then he had there to start him. So I think the rest is almost overdue, and I think I've looked at his minutes that he's clocked up have been really high. Him and Chilwell in particular down that left hand side. So I would probably rest him for this game because I do think he's knackered. And I'd start Giroud because I think he does deserve it after the winner against Rennes as well. And just rotate a little bit more. Rest Tammy. Rest potentially even, rest Ziyech. He was quiet the other day. And then give Pulisic and Cho an interchange on the wings. Give Giroud himself in the box. And then Timo comes back against Leeds because I think Timo will definitely start against Leeds anyway. That's a high intensity game. So I'd probably rest Timo. And then the midfield, maybe Kante, Havertz, and either Kovar or Mount. Whoever really needs a rest more.
I mean, yeah. The thing with these games for me is like with the Champions League, it's the biggest. I don't want to start the conversation about like what's bigger, the Champions League or the Premier League. They're equally as important for me. Yeah, and I think winning this group
is huge.
Could see us go on a huge run because think about the way we've progressed so far. Right, you get a slightly more favourable draw in the last 16.
Yeah. And
then you think about like Chelsea's experience in European competitions. Like we could beat anybody in a two-legged game right now with this squad. So then you're in the quarterfinals. So I think we got to give everything for Seville. Yeah. I also think we have the depth, so we can afford to rotate. But you know what people are going to say? You know, Werner doesn't play and Chelsea don't score and we lose the game. Why is Frank dropping Timo Werner? We just spent 50 million on it. You know? I can see it all coming round again now, but I think you're right. I think Timo probably does need a rest.
Yeah, I also look at what you said about the run and really Chelsea, you know, we're not going to be one of the favourites, but we could be an underdog for sure. I mean, we've got some experience in our team with Thiago Silva now. He's been to the final last year. You know, Mendy has been really good in goal. And then on top of that as well, you look at PSG, I think they had quite an easy-ish run to the final. They, still difficult teams, but they had Atlanta, I think, and Leipzig, and these are winnable games, you know, so you never know, especially at times like this. Barcelona are in free fall, you know, Juventus don't look themselves. The big teams in Europe are not exactly shining at the moment, so you know,
I honestly think like if you can avoid Bayern Munich for as long as possible, this is the year for an underdog to do it. And I think Chelsea are definitely an underdog, but we're a very strong underdog, you know, like we could do. I'm not gonna. Why not? Why the fuck not?
And you know you got the title ready for the next game.
I already think we're going to win the Premier League. I'm sure. Like I don't see why we can't win the Champions League either. But
I remember when your notification popped up on my phone. It was like Chelsea can win the Premier League. I was like, I was like, hold on, calm down.
I'm confident.
It almost said Chelsea have won the Premier League.
Imagine. I'll do an unlisted video now. I'll record it tonight and I'll post it for whatever day it is in May when the Premier League's done. And I'll just be like, click, first one to upload in the Chelsea community. I had this one banked for 7 months or whatever it is, 6 months. Yeah,
I can picture it now. Chelsea can win the Champions League. I can feel that title. Maybe not soon, maybe not now, but it's coming.
Now, maybe tomorrow for the preview. Maybe I say, maybe I'll go on this little tangent we've just started here about how if we win the group and then we get a bit lucky and then maybe a little bit lucky again and then like we'll probably get someone like Atletico Madrid in the semis and Simeone will get food poisoning or something. And he's not on the touchline and then like that's job done. You know, like,
I love these hypotheticals. It's gonna happen, mate. but literally, I agree with you because I don't. George with the gas. This comment, I need to put it up. I can't say that I fear anyone in particular other than probably Bayern Munich. Like we know PSG is strong, but they don't have the most handsome record in this competition. Real Madrid and Barca are definitely a shell of themselves. Atletico Madrid are running away with La Liga. If anything, they're the stronger team. Italy, like we said, you got Inter at the top, which is not how we're expecting it. Usually Juventus have fallen off under Pirlo. There's
Inter no looking like they're going to go out.
Yeah, I actually must check the actual groups for my.
Keep an eye on Lazio.
Yeah, Lazio, they've been mentioned. That'd
be an away day and a half.
Dortmund is who I really don't want to come up against with Erling Haaland. He's looking like a monster. So there's a way to progress. At least have a good tournament. I think a quarterfinal would be a good tournament for us, a step further than last year. Try and put an imprint, try and create some memories. I think that's one of the things where when we was talking about away days and match going, I have never been away to an away Champions League game. That is something on my bucket list to do. But those atmospheres are just different gravy, man. Like even going out to like the Eastern European countries or something, or do you know what I mean? The atmosphere is always nuts. I think Red Star in particular, their atmosphere, Arsenal fans have told me, is crazy, like almost violent, almost dangerous.
Man, I remember Roma. Roma away was carnage. Like I had the worst trip for Rome. So I left my passport on the plane for a start.
Jesus.
And then when I got off the plane, they wouldn't let me back on the plane. So they put me in a holding cell, waiting for, not a holding cell, like a holding room, waiting for the...
George arrested in Rome.
Man, like at one point, this is the crazy bit about it. Like I was sat in that room for 11 hours.
Jesus.
Like just waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
Every time I looked at my phone, like some guy was like coming in, and then like there was another incident where like the guy like had his hand on his hip because I came up to the desk and I put my hands down on the desk and I was just like, listen, can like someone just please give me an update when my passport's going to come back? The plane is literally, ironically, the plane went from Rome to Seville, right? Who were playing on Wednesday, then came back from Seville to Rome, and someone had it, but no one had bought it to this room. I was like, I've been here for 11 hours. And the guy like had his hand like on his gun in his clip as I was like put my hands down on the table, and I was like, no way, surely not. Like this can't get any worse than this.
Assassination.
Dude, imagine. Then I went to the hotel room, I had no windows and no AC.
Jesus Christ.
Which was a little
11 hours is a long time to be like, you've paid for a flight to go out there. Now you've killed 11 hours in another country where you want to be doing things.
I wasted my day off in Rome, before the game, and then we lost 3-0.
Oh yes, that game. Now I know what you're referring to. That was a joke.
Good fun trip, mate, that one.
Jesus. What's been your happiest away day then? Because mine definitely is not European, but it's Tottenham away last year. That was beautiful. I don't know if you was there, but we beat them obviously 2-0. William with 2 goals. That was unbelievable.
That one actually is number one. I was front row for that one. That was perfect. And then at the end of the game, when like Frank and everybody comes over, like that was a special one. Yeah. The most fun was Valencia. Oh no, bloody Ajax, mate. God,
Ajax.
Jesus.
Was that last year, Ajax?
Oh, yeah.
Any wild substances consumed?
I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody else about that one. Couldn't tell you.
Starts looking around like, oh Jesus, is that the time?
I actually was late to the game for real.
Oh, is it?
The first 9 minutes, yeah.
I can't stand being late for games. I remember when I used to go with my dad, and he obviously typical wants to go to the pub before the game. I'm like, cool. But when like the players are walking out and the liquidators playing, that I need to be there for that. And we always missed it. Always. We always turned up late. Not tipsy, but like we always definitely turned up as the game was kicking off. You know, when you can see the game has started and you're down, like trying to barge through everybody, and it's just
and you can hear like the roar of kickoff.
Yeah,
like,
I hate that.
Whose fault was this one? Yeah, that is.
And I always underestimated the queues going into the turnstiles. Like you think you have 10 minutes, and it's not. It's like 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. Those are the moments I miss for sure. Anything on the horizon for you in terms of when obviously lockdown's over? Are you going to bring back the travel vlogs, or what's the plans for your channel? Progressing, and what do you think you're going to be up to? You're going to keep covering Chelsea in different ways, or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I got a big vision for the World Cup coming up. I was meant to be doing a project with that, which never actually surfaced because of Corona. But I think my plan is I'm going to be starting a brand new channel again soon, which is going to be like, well, I mean, I had my main channel, which is just completely dead on YouTube. And then I remember
because you used to do challenges and stuff like that. I remember that.
Yeah. Back in the day. But like, I won't bore anyone with YouTube science. I'm sure someone would love to hear it. But if I was to post on that now, it would get less views than if I made a brand new channel tomorrow and then posted the same video on 100%. I almost might even do it just as like a test, just to prove the point. I'm going to make a new vlog channel. Yeah, screw it. And I'll make a new vlog channel. And then, we'll see. We'll see.
That's gonna be dope, man. Because the vlogs are brilliant. And the thing is, there's not many. We don't have many Chelsea vloggers. Obviously, I think only Lewis really does them. I certainly won't, because I'm just not a vlogger. I think I tried it on Snapchat. That was my lesson. If you're ever gonna try doing vlogs, you do it on Snapchat or do it somewhere else, like on Instagram, and you find out very quickly whether you're a vlogger or not.
Yeah, no, it's hard, man. Like I said, I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have somebody helping me do it on the day. Because like for me, it's the football's my number one thing. I'm not there to make a video, you know.
Yeah.
I'm there to support 100%. Chelsea and watch Chelsea.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. But I think in terms of coming back, like I probably won't be back very much until next season.
Yeah. Guys, obviously we're last 10 minutes around that now. If you've got any questions for George, slap them in the chat and I'll pick a few. I think finally, really what I want to get onto is obviously Lampard. I want to kind of, actually there was a cool game I wanted to play. I don't know if the chat will be able to incorporate this. I've never tried it, but I'll try it obviously with you here. Let's see. So what I do with this game, it's actually only just started on the Byline. I think last night, Alex threw it at me and I was like, yo, this is a sick game. You know, I might have to spill this.
Yeah.
And it put me under some serious headaches. And I think in the chat, if when I say the question, I want you guys to give your response as well. Please do, because it's going to be, it's a really difficult game. Now, it's called the Cobham Clash, right? Well, that's the name I'm going to give it. I don't know if he named it, so I'm going to copyright it and take it from him. But it's basically, because I'm a firm believer of, we've got so much great talent coming through, some are on loan, some in the team already, but it's almost impossible for everyone to make it, sadly. I think we saw that with Lamptey and Reece James last year. Obviously, there is a nice blend between Giroud and Tammy, Aspilicueta and Reece. There's a nice age split where the transition of power, so to speak, from one president to another can consume, it can continue. That's how I look at it.
I like that.
That's how I look at it. And I think, so we have to make tough choices. And I think no better way really than to pick two youngsters and say, who do you think is more likely to make it at Chelsea Football Club? So it's difficult. And they're not even all going to be maybe youngsters, because there are some more experienced midfielders. So I'll go with the first one. You've got Ross Barkley, Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher. Gallagher's obviously a younger one. Out of all of those, who would you say is more likely to make it in our midfield spot maybe for next year?
For next year, I mean, I think Conor Gallagher is a very good player, but I think next year will be too soon.
Yeah.
I really, really think, I hope that Ruben can keep it, I think he had such promise, and then that injury, is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, he gets a lot of people have kind of written him off now and just forgotten about him and all this stuff. And of all the footballers, I feel so sorry for him. Same. Sorry for him, because of it was that stupid flipping brand awareness friendly. What the bloody hell was that?
Yeah, it was for a great cause, but it was out in America. And I think we didn't have to send everyone over. And I think the pitch was a bit dodgy. And if there's one player that you don't want to use, it's Loftus-Cheek. And it was a club decision, I think, that everyone had to play. I will dye my hair like George, no problem. But literally, man, because he was playing so well under Sarri. I think people forget just how good he was in the Mason Mount's role. The left side of midfield, Hazard and him and Hudson-Odoi, they were really linking up beautifully for goals, whether it be in Europa League run or whatever. And they were playing so well. And it was such a shame that he couldn't play in the final, because he had been instrumental in getting to the final with his form. And then he couldn't play because he got the injury. And he's never been the same since. And how ironic is this, George, that Hazard and Loftus-Cheek have never really been the same since that season?
Yeah. Again, Hazard is the same one. I feel sorry for him. He did so good for us and stayed on for a couple more years longer than he probably initially wanted to. And then now, his dream moves kind of just, shit hit the fan, really. Yeah,
he's out for 3 more weeks. I think he got injured again, and it's sad because Chelsea fans are always gonna have that connection to him. Same with Loftus-Cheek. I love his celebrations. There's no real knee slide or anything. It's just it looks like he's gonna shit himself. He's just so happy. And I think out of the 3, if I could pick one that I have the most affinity towards, that I really want to make it, it's going to be Loftus-Cheek. But maybe he's the most unlikely at the moment, because his Fulham loan is not exactly going to plan. I mean, he had a great game where he got a goal, I believe, the other day, but it's not. It's very up and down. Sometimes he's on the bench, sometimes he's not. Barkley's playing quite well at Villa, and Gallagher scored the other day as well. So it's going to be tight between them. So in the chat, very mixed responses. Most people going for Loftus-Cheek or Gallagher. I think Barkley will probably be sold for a profit, so we'll see. Another one, Mark Guehi at Swansea, doing very well. Tomori, another player that we spoke about earlier, or Ampadu. Who would you say out of those three is more likely to make it? Because they're all kind of going for the centre-back-ish position. Ampadu's been playing centre-back for Sheffield United as well. Again, in the chat, let us know as well.
I think if we look at, like, in terms of trajectory and where players are currently at now, Guehi's probably further down for sure. And Tomori just doesn't seem to have any kind of looking from Frank. Yeah. I think Ampadu's a very good player. Yeah. And I think with a player like him now, where he can play in midfield, CDM, he can play at the centre back as well. It's like we have time to mould him into whatever we need him to be, Yeah. So I think Ampadu is more likely to make it at Chelsea.
Yeah, I would have to slightly agree. Only just though, because I think the club do have high aspirations for Mark Guehi here at Swansea. He's playing very well, very good ball playing centre back out from the back. And I think it's a cheeky question because they probably, Ampadu and Guehi could probably both make it. Ampadu, as you said, is versatility. He can play DM. I think for me, Tomori would actually probably be bottom of that list because I think a lot of people are suggesting Tomori, but Tomori's in the first team now and he's not getting a look in. For me, that's a red flag. That tells me that Frank's not convinced with him. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say he'd be bottom, and then I have Ampadu and Guehi quite high up there. Another one, which is an interesting one, Hudson-Odoi is being one of them. Let me think. It's a tough one when you pick Hudson-Odoi because that's very up in the air at the moment. Let me see. Oh,
see, this is the only problem with doing it live. We get
this will be my final one because I'm gonna go Hudson-Odoi, Billy Gilmore, or let's see. This is tough, man. Damn, this is a tough one. Because when you say Hudson-Odoi, it's just you can't give me your answer. Yeah, I haven't even. All right, good. Tino Andrin, that's actually a good one. Hudson-Odoi, Tino Andrin, or Billy Gilmore, because there's a lot of promise for Tino at the moment. So I think he's decent.
I think Tino's going to be a top player. I really do. I think he's got that kind of build. He's going to be very, very good. He reminds me a little bit of Ruben, actually. I think Billy Gilmore. I think he is. I think he's an underrated baller, and I think as soon as we see him come into this team, I think there could be some shocks this season. I really do, in terms of how good he is and how good he's probably going to be. Yeah, I just hope that it's like he's either going to get another injury straight off the back of coming back, which will then be a real problem, And I think it's for a lot of these players, like even Ruben, it's a very big season for these youngsters, because there's so much promise, and they've seen how Chelsea have heavily invested in midfielders, and it's now even like 10 times more competitive than it was last season. And last season was limited game time for Billy in particular. Yeah, but I think Billy's brilliant. Yeah, and I think he'll get better and better and better. And I think he just needs to be given a chance. And I think as he grows even more into his body, he's probably not going to grow that much more. But I think he still will grow a bit.
You see that meme where he's like walking and then he pops up out of this thing? Out of that.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? I'm going to send it to you. I'll send it to you. He's walking along with a teammate and he's crouching down. So maybe his butt's in the air and then he looks like a child basically. And then he just stands up and it's like, yo, where did you come from? It's hilarious. It's absolutely brilliant. But I think the thing that stands out for Billy is his mentality. I already saw him taking responsibility in games, ordering people into different positions, almost doing what Jorginho does, but then with a bit more pace. Off the ball, he's obviously a faster player, and then he does zip it around a bit quicker as well. So I think he's probably the successor to that role. And I think to control games and whatnot, he could be the guy. So I'd go with Gilmore as well. But the other two are immensely talented. It would be lovely if they could all just make it. But I think Lamptey's taught us one thing is that it's probably not even possible for everyone to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think as long as we're putting in buyback clauses in all of these potential sales, then it'd be smart.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, that's coming towards the end of the stream now. It's been an absolute pleasure having George here. Bro, plug away, but I have a feeling everybody's already subscribed. I mean, how can you not be? But anyway, go ahead, man. Let them know where they can find you if they're actually living under a cave and they don't know where to find you at this point.
Oh, very kind, very kind. George Benson Football Channel, bit of GBFC. You guys can see like half of the light we've got going on over here. The old yes guys had to be done, And then on Twitter, not as funny as this man, but Mr. George Benson on Twitter, Instagram as well. That's pretty much it these days. That is the lot. Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me.
I love the way you keep the ats like the same across all social media, so it's very easy to find you. So there's no excuses, guys. I'm gonna put the link. I'm gonna put the link in the description. But as I said before, if you're not subscribed already, then something's going wrong. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you need to check yourself a little bit. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's just over an hour. Thank you so much for joining us. The chat's been brilliant as per usual. On to Sevilla. We're both gonna have previews coming out, I'm sure, as well for the game. And listen, it wasn't what we wanted, but we did go to war in a sense. We came out alive, no defeat. So up the Chelsea, 2 points off the top of the table. And let's hope we can finish top of the group against Sevilla. And then it's on to Leeds, who are actually an old rival, by the way. The older fans will tell you that. There's something there. So that could be another war. I will see you guys in a bit. Peace.
Nice. Mate, that was so good. That was good. I enjoyed that.